We have three genres, a little bonus for you at the end. So our first genre is going to be a fiddle era. So a tune we're going to do for that is called Catlesburg. I don't know if any of you have heard of it before, but old-time fiddle music originated in the 1800s, and it was early 1900s as well. It was most popular in the Ozark and Appalachian regions. It was inspired by settlers from Europe, so they brought fiddle tunes over. Things like waltzes, breakdowns, reels, hoedowns. They play that songs together. Throughout the decades, music has been spread all across the country through Western expansion. Catlesburg is an example of one of the first fiddle tunes I learned. That's kind of in this genre. Does anyone here know any fiddle tunes? No one? You? Do you know a fiddle tune?
Yeah, but I forgot the name.
Yeah, they're nice to hear, so we're going to play one for you. This one's called Catlesburg. History. Does anyone know who Scott Joplin is?
You may have gone on a field trip to see his house.
He lived.
No? Okay.
No.
Well, some of them may have gone field trip.
Yeah, he used to live right here in St. Louis. So Scott Joplin was born in 1868 in northeastern Texas. He grew up with a very musical family. Both his parents were very musical. His dad played violin, just like me, and his mother sang and played banjo. I'm going to show you a little bit later. Yeah. So a little bit later in his life, just like his teenage age, he began performing for different people, kind of like us, what we're doing. So Joplin went to school in Sedalia, Missouri, at Lincoln High School. So he often visited St. Louis, though, to perform and jam with other musicians, and that's kind of how music spreads today. You perform with other musicians, and like jam sessions, and you get to know other types of music. So because of Scott Joplin, he created this new kind of era, which we call ragtime music. So it's kind of like fiddle, but you can hear the difference. Old Joe Clark.
Blues and early rock and roll, so it should be a little bit fun. The song we're going to do is called Johnny Be Good, and it was written by a guy named Chuck Berry. It was written by Chuck Berry in 1955. It's about a young boy that couldn't really read or write too great, but he could play the guitar like nobody else could believe. The song is loosely based on Chuck Berry himself. This is seen that he was born on Good Avenue in St. Louis, and the song is called Johnny Be Good. It's a type of St. Louis blues, which has a distinctive type of shuffle, and Chuck Berry uses some interesting techniques for bending strings, like which is really impactful in the way people played the guitar. Berry was such an impactful person in St. Louis that if you go to the Del Mar Loop, you can actually see a statue of him, and you can visit the Blueberry Hill Loop, which is a restaurant he performed at monthly while he was still alive. Sadly, he passed away last year, or 2 years ago, at the age of 90, living in Wentzville, Missouri. All right. Go, go, go.
time for questions now. Anybody have any questions? Yeah, you right there.
With the guitar, what's the thing that's taped in the...
That's called a pickup. So what that does is it creates like it records the sound the strings are making and sends it through this to make it louder
And then
using
also
magnets.
on the banjo, what's the,
This thing?
Like, no, at the, like, center here, like, quarter way down, from the top, that, like...
Oh, this one has a special string. So it was there's a certain type of banjo called hammer picking. So you use the E string kind of as a harmony, so it sounds all good together. Very good questions.
You in the yellow shirt.
Can you put all on the watchtower by Jimi Hendrix?
I can, but not today.
He's a good guitarist. Yeah, you right there.
My dad's best friend is like obsessed with
That was the right one. Obsessed.
with instruments. So I know a lot of instruments.
Yeah, you know what kind of music he plays? Is it like rock or he just likes instruments?
Instruments.
Because he has like a billion of them.
Yeah, you up there.
What's the difference between a fiddle and a violin?
That's a very good question.
That's what we're waiting for.
So, the real mystery here, there's no difference. So it's the same instrument, but in different types of music, they're referred to a little bit different. So if you go to like bluegrass music or fiddle music, like old time music, they refer to it as a fiddle. Or if you go to the classical side of the world, where you guys are probably learning now, it's called a violin. So it's the same instrument. Sometimes it's a little bit different. The bridge can be a little bit shorter just for easier playing, but it's the same instrument. Good question though.
Like complicated. How long did that take you to learn? And
We've been working on this for a few weeks, maybe about a month.
But we haven't been playing music for a few weeks.
No,
When did you start playing music?
I started playing guitar when I was 4 years old.
And I started playing violin when I was about 5 too. So we've both been at it for 10 plus years now. Practice a lot. So that's what makes it a good play. You practice a lot.
What all instruments do both of you play?
I can play the guitar, the bass, the drums, and the keyboards are instruments I actively play. But I can probably, get something out of whatever you put in front of me.
I play violin, fiddle, however you want to look at it, banjo, mandolin, piano, bass, and I think that's
Electric guitar.
Guitar, electric guitar. We both have that.
Interruption.
Hi.
May I please have Jake for dismissal?
Jake, you go home. We're good friends with us. Yeah. Oh yeah, nice. Let's see you all the way in the back there.
How do you get that like electric guitar sound?
That goes back to another question. It's this thing inside of here is the electric part. It's using magnets to record the vibrations of the string, and then it's being amplified through this large thing.
See you right there in the jacket.
What are your real names?
My real name? That's a good question. Tubby Bucket's my nickname. That's what I usually go by, but I'll tell you, my name's Deven.
My name's Jacob.
But we're Tubby Bucket.
Tubby Bucket. We're the Tubby Buckets band.
Tubby Bucket's band. Yeah. You in the pink sweater? She is, yeah. She's our teacher at Park.
Dev.
Which one? Yeah, right there. What's my favorite kind of music? That's a good question.
Favorite kind of music to play?
To play. Okay. Tough one. I'd probably say rock music. I like rock. It has a good sound to it. I also like listening to classical music though. All the musics are really essential though to like get your base in the music world. So the rock music would probably be my favorite. Good question.
My favorite is probably 80s rock.
80s rock.
80s is
Yeah,
awesome.
we like the old stuff. Yeah, you right there. If you remember, we'll come back to you.
How much strings are on the banjo?
Good question. How many counts? I don't know.
4.5.
4.5. Four is in the tiny one.
How much strings are on the guitar?
6.
Most guitars aren't sit, but some people like to modify it,
Yes.
put like a whole bunch of strings
In
in
the
there.
last maybe 10 or 15 years, there's been a development of adding lower strings to the point where there's a 20 string.
The officer has a question.
Yeah, did you have a question?
Catherine?
Gotcha. Let's see. Yeah, you right there.
Did you used to go to school?
No, I didn't. I used to go to Belle Reve.
I went to Riverbend.
Yeah, it's optional.
Yes, that's why there's tape actually. It kept falling off.
Okay.
Improvised musician.
I started playing when I was in grade school, and then I was 5 and 6.
Yeah, that's good.
It's great.
If you keep it up, you sound like way before we are. So
Definitely keep it up.
let's see. Yeah, you right there.
What would be the first kind of music you guys, the first instrument or music you guys started
Yeah,
playing?
that's a good question. I actually started with classical, so I had lessons, probably like some of you guys have now, and started orchestra in school. But you?
I started with rock. I got some lessons from my dad, but then I went on to get some, strings lessons from Miss Bont, and went over to classical.
I think you can take a mom question and one more student
Any
question.
questions?
How often do you need to practice, and how important
Very
is
good
it?
question.
You have to practice every day.
Every day. You never have to let music go. If you practice every day, I will guarantee you will be better than us.
Do you just practice the easy stuff?
No, you practice what. If it's easy, that means you don't need to practice it. Once it's harder, that's what you need to practice to make yourself better. And once you practice long enough, it just becomes playing.
Yeah. You'll have a fun time.
Fun.
Okay, choose your favorite student.
Okay, let's see who's my favorite.
Let's see, all the way in the back there. What was that? What was your question?
When did you ever get together as a band?
Get together? We've only known each other for about the school year now. It's
Yeah.
6 months.
6 months, yeah.
What about last you not understand? Okay, so I think we